I think the most important part, why we all are here today, and there's a big number. And I think in my experience, I'm seeing the biggest number ever of a session organized by international chapter. And I was having a discussion with our project leads, and I had said, at most we'll get 5 or 10% of people attending it. And I had said that I would love to be proved wrong, but tonight I'm proved wrong because there are way more people I had expected to attend. So thank you all for being here, because without you this session will be meaningless. So the next part of the agenda is basically about going around the table, and I can see someone is raising hand. I cannot. Sorry, who is? Okay.
Harsh, it's Tapaswini Pradhan.
Yes, please.
I could unmute her if she has any
Yes,
questions.
please. Yeah, please, if you can do that. Yes.
I am from India. I have done my master in occupational therapy in developmental disability. I am a differently able person, but still I have worked at more than 13 years in pediatric setup. But now the India government organization, especially SB Netta, are questioning about my therapy. So I want to move to America. So please help.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Tapaswini. And I think if you want to move to America, Dr. Sethi is here. He can. That is something, and that is what we'll be discussing now in the session. So thank you for raising the hand and talking to us. And of course, we'll be addressing how to move to different countries, and USA is a part of that. So thanks for that. So what we will do is that I'll go around the table once more, and this time I'll go like country wise. I'll try to again follow my screen, and sometimes the positioning of people on the screen changes, so I'll have to work it out how to make it happen. So to begin with, I'll start from the left side of my screen. So Dr. Jayasree, we have got you on the screen, and I know you are from Qatar. So what is the registration requirement in Qatar, and what about the job? And can you talk a bit about that, please? Thank you.
Thank you, Harsh. It's actually recently we have, I think 2012, we have implemented the licensing and the verification requirement. Earlier, when I started my career in 2007, it was not there. But when people started coming in from multiple countries, the verification of their education was becoming a problem. So the Department of Allied Health Professional, they call it as DHP, Department of Health Professionals. That's the agency which is responsible for providing license to any medical practitioner and allied health professionals in Qatar. So your education and your professional experience and your character, if you have like your conduct certificate, everything will be verified. And there is a site. So if you look into Department of Allied Health Professionals, so there is a step-by-step guide in the website of Qatar. So you have to follow that, and you have to submit the application and wait for the verification. And if there will be any queries, it starts with the personal identification, conduct certificate, education, and everything, blah, blah, blah. So once step-by-step things are verified, they call it as data flow. Data flow is the company which does this, the software. So you will be notified that your license has been provided, and it is a cycle, ARCOIL cycle of 2 years. So you have to accumulate enough CPD points, 40 points for direct practice and another 40 points in indirect care. So to renew your license at the end of the 2 year. So this is the process. So first, once your license is verified, your employer would hire you. You can start working. Then after that, every 2 years you have to renew it. So you have to be keep on pushing yourself to attend continuous professional development activities, and then you can apply it for renewal. So once your CPD points are verified, it will be automatically renewed. And at the time of your termination or your resignation, the ministry would ask for a verification from your place of practice whether there has been any complaints or any conduct issues happening. So then you will be given a certificate of good standing wherever you're leaving or you're moving to another country or something. So even from your own country, like from India, I think IOTA provides it, conduct certificate. So it's required as a part of a verification process to work in Qatar. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. I just have, it's good to get an overview of how things work there. I had a few queries, and one was like, how easy is it to renew things in 2 years? Is it too difficult, or it's kind of a paperwork you need to do, or just want to get some thought on that?
See, when we started, it was in 2012. It was a little bit tough to get because you have to attend AOTAs, the videos or lectures or all that courses to get CPD renewal. But now I think each and every employer is taking responsibility to provide continuous professional developmental activity. So for example, if I'm a team lead, I make sure that there is a CPD activity happening on a weekly basis or on a monthly basis. So 1.5 hour from your direct practice on a weekly basis. Say we work 40 hours a day, so at least 40 hours a week, sorry. So in this 40 hours, at least 1.5 to 3 hours of continuous professional developmental activity has been implemented in place by our leaders and employers. And so it's not a tough job. So they have given it in two categories. So 40 hours of direct occupational therapy related things, and another 40 hours can be like, it could be like a research oriented, or it could be like anatomy, physiology, various profession which is would indirectly contribute to occupational therapy. So it's very easy. So to get for 80 hours over a period of 2 years, it's a piece of a cake. And the team leaders and the chief, everyone who's taking over a occupational therapy department is taking responsibility so that their staffs are getting up-to-date knowledge in their trend in the field of occupational therapy. So the leaders are encouraging, the administrators are paving way, so it's not a tough job. Unlike in nursing, I think the expectation is like you should go beyond your duty hours to do the CPD points. But in occupational therapy in Qatar, our employers, our leaders, our chief administrators, they're encouraging. So if you're attending a CPD activity like Institute of Health Forum, this is usually happen every year. So these kind of activities are directly encouraged. So as long as your patient care has been taken care of, you're encouraged to go during your duty hours to attend such things. So it's actually it's a very encouraging thing for us as a practitioner. See, as you add years to your years of practice, say if you're 16 years, if you're 20 years, if you're 22 years, it's very important to stay up to date in the current field of practice. Everything goes back to evidence-based practice. So that's the employers and administrators are really helping. Yeah, so it's not a big job. It's a piece of a cake.
Excellent. Thank you, Dr. Jayashree. And for the viewers who are like the attendees tonight, and if you have any question, you can put that in the chat box. And maybe Dr. Shadal, you can have an eye on chat box, and if something comes up, we can cover. We may not be able to cover everything, and this is just a start of our discussion. And we, as I said, everything we can't cover in this another an hour, but if we can, we will, and maybe later on we can communicate through emails. So, I mean, one thing you said, Dr. Jayasree, was the certificate of good standing, which you get from. I can see, Dr. Hemant, you're having your hand raised. I'll come to you after this. So, maybe if you can put your query in the chat box, Dr. Hemant, and then we can pick it up from there. Because we would like to continue with the flow and at the end take the questions. Thank you. So yeah, one thing you mentioned about getting a letter of good standing from All India Occupational Therapy Association, and this is something which I would like to really emphasize. And I know, I think it was last year or I don't know the exact month when Government of India decided to have a council like Allied Health Council, and occupational therapy will be part of it. And there were talks about like how like now we have got a council, we may not need association, but all I wanted to say tonight, and there are quite a few people here, that you will always need your association. So to make things clear, council is to protect the public, association is to raise your voice as a professional. So no matter Government of India has an OT council, that council will be to protect the public, to make sure that as a practitioner you are fit for purpose, but your association will be your voice. Your association will be raising that voice in parliament and on all different places. And I have represented OTs in New Zealand for 4 or 5 years. And from that experience, uh, council have got very limited voice. They do not raise voice for practitioners. You always need your association. And this is a classic example when Dr. Jesse was talking about that opportunity, when like you got letter of good standing from AIOTA. It's quite a straightforward process. You do it online, and Dr. Sunny Joseph Sunny is here, and he's so prompt, and I get impressed every time I interact with him. He's always prompt in replying and getting things done. So, um, sorry, I got a bit distracted there, but I guess, as I said, you people will have many questions. Please feel free to put in the chat box. We'll try to address at the end of the session. If not, we are also recording this session. We'll have your questions. We'll get back to you. So next on my screen is, so we'll go to New Zealand now because Dr. Shadul, you are next on my screen, but maybe you, Dr. Joy, who brings kind of a non-conventional role perspective in this discussion, because OTs cannot just work as an OTs, they can work in non-conventional role, and Dr. Joy is doing that in New Zealand. And then we have got Dr. Prachi there. So these three people, I mean, I'll leave you three to team up and talk about what is the registration process in New Zealand, and what about the jobs and the interviews and pathway to work visa, residency. So over to you three guys. Maybe Dr. Shadul, you can kickstart and other two can join. Thank you.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the registration pathway is quite clear, and it has been kind of reframed by the OT board in the past couple of years. They've tried to make it a bit easier. So as far as I am aware, that there are no examinations to be taken. That there are basic requirements in terms of 5 major competencies which are required for you to practice OT here in New Zealand. So some of them are related to your professional knowledge, some of them are related to your cultural competency. As some of you might know that New Zealand is predominantly a bicultural country where you've got New Zealand European culture and Maori culture. So they expect you to have some basic knowledge of these cultures to practice as an OT. So some of those competencies may include knowledge around these things, but I think Joy and Prachi can add on to those things a bit more as to registration, because I got mine 6 years ago, so I'm still a bit rough on those parts. But in terms of unconventional OT roles, I think I can talk a bit more about that, because
yes, please. Yeah, talk about that. Yeah,
I have never practiced as an OT per se in New Zealand. So, I mean, I've used OT principles in whichever roles I have been in. So I basically worked in, as I said, I worked in community mental health settings, adult community mental health settings, where I've had roles of predominantly care management for people with mental health disorders or conditions who are living out in the community. So it was mostly using OT principles, but being in these different roles and how you can apply some of those principles or some of those models when you carry out assessments or interventions when you're working with your clients. In my current role, I think I've got a more of a coordination role. So it's engaging with internal and external stakeholders at the university uh, alongside seeing clients. So that's a bit of a step up in the role which you might have to take as you progress through your career. So currently, my role involves dealing with teaching, non-teaching staffs across the university, helping them identify mental health concerns and how to make appropriate referrals to us so that we can provide mental health care and well-being to students who are studying at university. It also involves linking with NGOs and other hospital settings and arranging for appropriate mental health care for students. Uh, I mean, it's a lot to cover, but these are some of the roles that I have been in, and I don't want to take a lot of time for myself. So I'll probably hand over to Prachi or Joy to talk a bit more around their roles in New Zealand and
Yeah.
if they've got additional information on registrations.
Yeah. Thanks, Shadul. So before we go to Dr. Prachi and Joy, just wanted to add there is that you talked about non-conventional roles. So and this is what I wanted to just put it out there for you all is in I have worked in India, and one of the challenges when you're working, especially for government in India, is that you reach 30 years and that's the ceiling. After 30, most of the government jobs are closed. I still remember me being 27 or 29-year-old and sending this message to Delhi board that, look, I'll be hitting 30 next year. Can you tell me what has happened to this exam which I had given? Because after that, I will never get a government job. So what happens when you move abroad? That ceiling is not there in many countries. Most of the OECD countries, that ceiling is not there. So you can, at the age of 50, get into a role of a secretary or a cabinet secretary. And so like there are lateral entries. It's not like one UPSC exam or one, you can get into these roles. So all I'm trying to say is that you can enter a country as an occupational therapist and practice as a clinician, but with time you may realize that, oh, I can be a manager, or I can be a policy person, I can be something else. So there are many other opportunities where you can branch out. So as Dr. Shankar was saying that he is manager in Ireland. So that is how it works. So I guess that is what you were trying to say, Dr. Shadul. There are non-conventional OT roles which are available. So I thought I'll mention that. I see some hands are up, but unfortunately, sorry, we'll go ahead with this discussion. If you have got any queries, please put in the chat box, and at the end we'll try to take those questions. So Dr. Prachi and Dr. Joy, would you like to add what Dr. Shadul had to say about New Zealand?
Yeah, I can talk a little bit about the registration process. So I would say the New Zealand websites are quite transparent. So if you go onto OT Board of New Zealand website, and I can put that in the chat afterwards, like there are very like nicely laid out documents what you need to do in order to get registered here.
Sorry, someone's microphone is on. Can you please put that on mute there? Thank you. Yes,
Yes.
please.
So if you go on the website, I think there's like very clear instructions how you can get registered. And one of this, as Shardul talked about, is like showing New Zealand like how you kind of fulfill those 5 competencies. And of course, another part is giving your English exam. You can take either PTE or I think another one is OET exam. And there is like minimum score that you have to score in order to get registered. So once you're registered, you get your kind of license to practice, and it makes it like easier to apply for jobs. Yeah, so I think I'll put that in chat, the website.
Thank you, Dr. Prachi. I see Dr. Shardul has given a link to the OT board website, so that's good. Thank you. And Dr. Joy, you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, I'll just share my screen. I mean, what I want to say is there are various things you'll need to do in order to get registered. I mean, there are various things you'll need to get in place before you apply for registrations. But the two biggest things are passing your IELTS test. By passing, I mean getting 7 in each module, and then clearing your competencies. So I'll just share my screen to show you what the competencies are. I won't go in detail with them, but I think it'll be helpful to just have a quick look at it. So in the OT, is everybody able to see my web page?
I'm able to see, so
Yeah.
I assume others are able to see too. Thank you.
Yeah, so this is Occupational Therapy Board New Zealand's website. This is the official website, and in this website, if you go to overseas qualified section, you will get all the information.
You're on mute, Joy.
On
Sorry,
mute as well. So can you please unmute yourself here?
Yeah. So if you go to the competencies here, you can see there are five areas under competencies, and each area has sub points. What you need to do is you have to think about examples from your from the work that you have done to prove that you meet all these sub points, or points under the competencies. Each competencies, for example, says here, use a range of communication and active listening strategies with people receiving services. So I mean, this is a simple one. Say you have to just say that how you communicate with your clients regarding uh, booked meetings, or progress that they're having in therapy, etc. So you just have to think of examples and write under each of these points. So that this is basically what competencies are. But other than that, yeah, rest of the information you can get on the website that I just showed.
Thank you, Dr. Joy.
Thank you.
If you can unshare that, then we'll have our main screen back, please. Thank you. I just wanted to add that New Zealand and Australia have got a Trans-Tasman agreement. So if you are registered in New Zealand or you're registered in Australia, you can automatically qualify for registration in the other country. So like if you're registered in New Zealand, it takes 2-3 days to get registered in India, and registered in Australia and vice versa. So we have got that Trans-Tasman agreement. So important thing to keep in mind. I think the main thing is to begin with, to have your English IELTS, or these days they do OET 7 at least, and then you have to give examples from your practice. And if you think you can make up stories, and it's because the assessors they're quite intelligent, they'll be able to figure out whether you have actually practiced or not, and they do referee checks as well. And if they're not satisfied, they will ask you to appear in exam, and it can be like you may need to visit New Zealand and sit in exam. So you get provisional registration, and then they will assess you, and if your supervisor will say that no, this person is fit for purpose, then after 6 months to 1 year, they will provide you permanent kind of registration. So when I registered, it was long back in 2010. I had no idea how it works, and I did not know anyone here. I just put examples there and sealed the paper. Went to a mandir in Munirka in New Delhi, and I thought, that will work, and unfortunately it worked. But after that, what they have done is they have lifted up the game. They have given more guidance to people who want to register. So anyway, I mean, we have talked about New Zealand. Now we move to next on my screen is Dr. Nidhi Tanwar from Australia. Over to you, Dr. Nidhi.
Thank you, Harsha. So I will walk you all through the process of registration as an occupational therapist in Australia. The first step is that all of us should have a mandatory registration from National Board of India. So everybody should be either registered from a state council or AIOTA. The second step is to collect all your documents. So all your transcripts, your birth certificates, your identity documents, and your English language test. The next step is to go into, and please, these two websites are really important. If you are wanting to migrate to Australia, you cannot miss any of the steps in that. For one is AHPRA, that is Australian Health Practitioner Registration Agency. The second one is OTA or OTC, which is Occupational Therapy Australia or Occupational Therapy Council. Now, if you want to register to be able to work as an occupational therapist in Australia, you have to be a registered practitioner under both, which does not mean that you have to provide separate documents, but any document that you provide to AHPRA will have to be provided to OTC and OTA. So basically, you're providing the same documents to two different bodies. Now, we have two steps in order to get registered here. The first step is desktop assessment, which is also known as initial assessment. The second step is supervised practice audit. For initial assessment, you can actually get your initial assessment done while sitting in India. All you have to do is, and I'll paste those links here. All you have to do is go on the websites. Everything is pretty clear. Everything is very, very transparent. But please go stepwise. So the step one would be filling a form, submitting it to APRA. In that form, you will have list of heaps of documents actually. Category A documents, category B documents. Category A documents would be involving all those proofs of your qualifications, your birth certificates, your identity, your passport, and everything. And then category B documents or category C documents would involve everything around your English language test proficiency. Now, on the basis, it will also include all your transcripts, your degree, everything. Now, after you have submitted your Desk 1 assessment, you will receive a call sitting in India from an OTA or an APRA officer. They will want to see whether you're a real person or not. So they will do a video call. So I had no clue that I would receive a video call just out of the blue. And so just make sure that whenever you're applying for Australia, you will receive, after you have applied for stage 1 assessment, you will receive the call any time in the next 1 week. So plan your trips and everything accordingly. After that is done, you will receive an invite from APRA that you are eligible. So the Desk 1 assessment is done for you to know whether you are eligible, whether you're suitable to work in Australia as an occupational therapist or not. The college, your college should be recognized from WFOT as well. Stage 2 would be supervised practice. Now, supervision is a big thing, I think, in New Zealand, in Australia, both. You have to have a supervisor for at least 6 months and not less than 1 year. I consider myself very lucky that I got my registration within 6 months. I had an amazing supervisor. So you need to have a good supervisor in order to get your registration within 6 months or even 1 year. After your stage 1 assessment, the supervised practice plan would be required, in which you and your supervisor will make a long plan around competencies which are required to work as an OT. And I think it is quite similar to what they do in New Zealand as well. In Australia, we have Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders people. You need to be culturally trained in that. So I had no clue because it was not written on APRA website or OTA. So this is a catch. Once you are doing your stage 2 registration, your supervised practice, it's worth a try to get enrolled in one of the cultural competencies or cultural webinars, workshops from Australia. Once stage 2 is done, you will receive your full registration. Now this the step 5, step 4, it is very similar to, I think, what Jayashree was saying, that every year you have to maintain your registration. So you have to finish, I think, not less than 20 hours of CPD, because the profession is dynamic and everything keeps changing. There will be an audit done every year. So it's like a lottery. They will just pick up one name, and if you are the one, and if you have not done your 20 hours, your registration, your license can be cancelled. So as an OT from India, we have to be very, very aware of all this. Now there are two pathways or two ways to work as an OT here. Like we have discussed about registrations, what to do, what not to do. There are two ways to residency. First is you come on a work visa, or you come as a PR. PR is permanent residency. I'm sorry if not everyone knows. For a work visa, you need to have a sponsor. So the company that you interview for, they should be able to sponsor you to come here and work. Now, the sponsorship could be done for 2 years or 3 years or 4 years. And there is a pathway to PR then. If you come on TSS 482 work visa, which I was on, you have a pathway to PR directly. But it has a catch. You have to be with the same company for at least 3 years in order to qualify for the PR. You can get a job sitting in India, but again, there are two ways to do that. The first one is you do it yourself. You visit Seek, you visit Jora, you visit Indeed. I can again share the names of all these sites in the chat box after I'm done talking. Or you can actually go through a recruitment consultant. Now, going through recruitment consultant is an easier process, and that is absolutely, my personal opinion. You can, if you want to try, you can try by your own way. You can go to Seek, Jora, Indeed, etc. But if you go through a recruitment consultant, the supervision process becomes easy, because if you are trying to do it all by yourself, you will have to find a supervisor for yourself as well. And you'll have to pay for that supervisor separately, because it will be charged per hour 1 week for 1 week. And you have to do it for the next 6 months and 1 year. So it's always easier because it'll be a new country. The dynamics would be different and everything. So it'll be one less thing to worry about. Yeah, I think that's all. If there is anything else which you guys want to know, I'm happy to help.
Yeah, Dr. Nidhi, thank you very much for that. I mean, you it was a very good explanation, step by step, and you have given a good account of user-based experience, and congratulations for getting your supervision condition removed in 6 months. It was not just the awesome supervisor. I think you would have done really well, because it takes a while to get it done. I mean, I see some of the questions I'm watching in the chat box, and one of the things is that is masters required? For New Zealand, it is not required. But what about Australia? Is it compulsory?
No, masters is not required for Australia as of now. Bachelor's is required, but your college should be registered. Your college should be under WFOT.
Absolutely. And that means the college should be affiliated by All India OTA Association. So again, coming back to it, what is the significance of AIOTA in India? Anywhere you want to go abroad, you have to be a member of that because, in fact, you're a member when your college is affiliated. So it's all interconnected. Thank you very much, Dr. Nidhi. And of course, I see there are some chat box they want to have links to website and all. One thing I wanted to add is that post pandemic, what has happened is all these OECD countries, they have opened their doors. They're desperate to have people. So if you want to move abroad, this is the best time. Now, having said that, one thing actually I wanted to say right at the start of this session. In this session, we won't be comparing two countries. We won't be comparing India with other country. We won't be comparing New Zealand with Australia or Qatar with USA, because we are not here to do that. This is for you. You take the information with you tonight and you sit there and you think what are the pros and cons. So for example, when I wanted to move, for me, I did not.
You have been muted, sir.
It's quite frustrating. I don't know how I get muted every time. I don't know how it works, but I don't know how much you have listened. But what I was trying to say is that it's so what I wanted to preempt at the start of this session is in this session, we won't be comparing two countries, not comparing India from other countries, not comparing, say, New Zealand to Australia or USA to Qatar. We are not here to do tonight. I know as an aspirant who wants to go out, you would like to know which is better, which country you would like to move. We want you to go today with all this information and then figure out yourself what is important to you. For example, when I wanted to move, for me, time was more important. I did not have time with me. I had not done masters. I did not have time to do masters. I wanted to go to a country which can take me without masters. I wanted to go to a country which can give me residency and give me some certainty for me and my family. So that was my choice, and that's why I selected. And I wanted to go to a country who New Zealand attracted me for two reasons. Some of my teachers in my school were from New Zealand, and the second, the cricket team. I like that too. So I mean, it depends. What is your aspiration? So that's why I'm saying we are not going to compare two teams. And I did mention, I don't know whether that was on mute or not, that AIOTA, you are going to need IOTA when you go abroad. So be part of your association, feel proud of that, and support that as well, because they are, they will look for whether you are part of AIOT or not, you are affiliated to WFOT or not. Affiliated to WFOT means your college is approved by IOTA to be meeting the minimum requirements of WFOT OT curriculum. So sorry, without wasting much time, I'll go to you, Dr. Amit Sethi. You have been patiently waiting, and we would like to know what is the scene in USA. If I want to move to USA, what I need to do. Thank you.
Sure, I'll be happy to talk about US. First of all, I think as I'm hearing, US is one of the more, I know we are not comparing countries, but just to give some context, US seems like is one of the most regulated in terms of OT practice, and even coming here is it's a process. It's like other places, but I think here it's an even more challenging process. So before we get into the process of what and how you come here, one important distinction that I would like to make, which I often hear as a program director, is what's the difference between the OT education here compared to India, for example, and like not just the content of education, because I'm really proud of my Indian OT education. I got my bachelor's from Manipal, but beyond that, I think that the title and the differences in the type of degree, that's what I'm talking about. So you need to have at least a master's of science in occupational therapy or master of occupational therapy here in the US to get the license in OT. The profession here is moving to an entry-level doctoral degree, in future. They wanted this to start next year in 2024, but unfortunately it did not happen. Fortunately or unfortunately, there are pros and cons to both. But I expect in the next 10 years, we will not have any Masters of OT program in the US. It could be possible with that. So because majority of these schools or universities are transitioning or have already transitioned their Masters of Science in Occupational Therapy to the entry level occupational therapy. That's called as OTD, Doctoral of Occupational Therapy. Now, I don't want you to get confused this with a PhD. A PhD is a different degree, which is Doctor of Philosophy with that, right? So a PhD is a research degree, but OTD is a clinical doctoral degree to practice and become a licensed occupational therapy in the US. That is what the degree you will need in future. I don't know when. Right now, it's still master's with that. So just to give another 10-second, 15-second context of why this is happening, in the last 2 decades or so, a lot of health professionals in the US, including medicine, pharmacy, physical therapy, physiotherapy, dentistry, they are all have transitioned from a bachelor's degree, from a master's, and then to a doctoral degree. So like in India, you get an MBBS and you can get into an MBBS after you graduate from your 12th standard, right? With that. Or you can get to a BOT or BPT or BDS dentistry or B pharmacology, whatever, right? Here in the US, you need to, so all these professions have transitioned from a bachelor's to a doctoral degree as an entry level doctor. And so in order to meet the demand and the pressure from other healthcare professionals, the OT profession has also switched or is in the process of transitioning to doctoral as well. With that, just to give you that context, okay? So, so what do you need? So they want you to have a bachelor's degree in some field, okay, and then you pursue a master's degree or a doctoral degree after that, clinical doctoral with that, right? So I am, as I mentioned, I am a faculty at the University of Pittsburgh here and an associate professor, and I'm also the director of the Masters of Science program here. And when you are looking, so the best way to get to US, if you want to come here, is hands down to come as a student here to study your master's, okay? Pursuing a path to come from a visa perspective from work, as Dr. Nidhi Tanwar was saying, there's an option to do the like a work permit visa, right? Like for Australia. Similarly, there is a process here in the US also, but it is challenging. It's going to be very time consuming. The success rate is trivial, in my opinion, on that, because as there are plenty of job opportunities, no doubt about that, in multiple settings here. But the main thing will be to get to the US and get to pass the board exam here for occupational therapy, right? So the best way to come here would be to come as a student. And right now, so again, when you're selecting a program to come here as a student, what you need to keep in mind is you're looking for a post-professional program, okay? Not a program that is an entry-level program, because people coming from Nepal or India, who we have here as guests here in the for today's session, you already have a bachelor's in occupational therapy, okay? So entry level meaning you already are an occupational therapist. You don't want to repeat that degree, so you want to come here as a post-professional, okay? So right now there are 5 or 6 universities only in the US which are offering this post-professional Masters of Science in Occupational Therapy, and University of Pittsburgh is one of them, and I am the program director for that, okay? It's a 30 credit program, which means it's a 9-month degree program that I direct and supervise. So the cost for this this program is about 50,000 US dollars. That's just the tuition I'm talking about. And then you have to think about, okay, what is going to be my living expenses and other things with that, right? So if you if you come here and pursue your Masters of Science program, and there are different universities Out of these 5, 6, you can select any university which fits your needs. But the outcome of that will be once you have a master's degree, you are now at least at the level of master's that you can then take the exam, right? So, so the requirement to pursue or become an occupational therapist in the US is you need to pass an exam, which is administered by the National Board of Certification for Occupational Therapists, which is NBCOT. As other countries, you need to have an IELTS or TOEFL exam for that to prove your English proficiency requirements. A minimum of 7 on IELTS is required, and I think 110 or 120, I believe, on TOEFL, right? And then the other big thing, what NBCOT, this National Board for Certification of Occupational Therapy, does is they're going to look at the combination of your bachelor's degree and the Master of Science degree that you earned in the US. And they're going to make sure that your combined bachelor's and master's degree is equivalent to a US trained occupational therapist with that. Okay, so that's the first step that they do. That's the first step. Okay. Once they do that, that is a little complicated step because a lot of students usually get hung up at that step only. That's their roadblock from there. This can take some time, and so you need to make sure that this gets through. Okay, and then after you have done this process, they give you 90 days to take the exam, the NBCOT exam, which is going to be the entire course that you covered in your undergrad degree, plus your Master's of Science degree here. And so you need to read and give that exam. The exam is not an easy exam. Trust me, it's one of the toughest exams I've ever given in my life. It's a 4-hour exam. It's 200 questions, all multiple choice, case-based exam. Okay, and after I took the exam, like probably 12, 14 years ago, but after I took the exam, I came out of the exam room and I said, wow, I blanked out. I had no energy to think about anything. It is a tough exam. It's going to ask you, it's going to test you, your level of problem solving and clinical reasoning to the maximum with that. And students coming from India really struggle with this exam. Okay, if you're directly coming without doing a master's here in the US. Okay, you could do a master's in India or Nepal and then come here. The main reason why students struggle is because in India, our curriculum is designed to test a lot of practical application, but not the clinical reasoning in terms of multiple choice questions with that. We are exposed to writing long essay type of questions, right, in our examinations with that. Here, on the other hand, no one has the time to grade as many long answer questions with that. And so they're going to test you on these very crisp and very nicely written and tested and validated exam questions, which students usually struggle if you are not used to reading between the lines in a question and answering that. So when you join a master's program in the US, you are trained to take these test strategies, because all the exam questions that you will be doing in your Masters of Science or in Occupational Therapy in the classes, they're going to be pretty much multiple choice questions. So when you spend a year or so in doing a master's year, you get exposure to that, right? So that's the advantage of doing masters here. And your success rate to crack that exam is going to be very high. Okay. Once you pass the exam, that's not the end. There are 50 states in the US, and so in the US, it depends where you want to practice, right? Each state has their own licensure examination. So when you are, so you get 2 credentials. So like my credential is Amit Sethi, PhD, OTR/L. So OTR is once you get the R after OT if you pass the NBCOT exam. That means you're registered now with the Board of Occupational Therapists in the US. After you have registered for that, now in order to pursue an employment or work in any state, you need to get licensed in that state. Like you get a driver's license in a specific state. Similarly, you need to get license for occupational therapy to practice. So then you have to apply to that state. Some states have another exam also to pass, but those exams are not tough. They're usually the laws, the healthcare laws for that specific state is what they're looking for. It's also usually an open book exam majority of the time where you can see and answer questions online also. But there is a process for that, right? So once you get the exam for the state, then you basically have the L. So OTR/L, that means now you're licensed in that state. So I'm licensed in the state of Pennsylvania here, for example. And you can easily transfer your license from different states, from one state to another, if you choose to move to another state later on, okay? But that is in a nutshell, the process of coming here to the US. It's a little complicated compared to some other countries that I'm hearing, but that is what it is. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks, Dr. Sethi. That was, I think, thanks for your honest kind of assessment of what needs to be done, and I think it's good for our participants tonight to hear that firsthand from an experienced person like you. And you have made your mark in United States as an academic and a researcher. So I guess I saw some of the chats they were asking about, can we connect with the panelist? Can we connect with on LinkedIn? Look, I'll be a devil's advocate here. It will up to the panelists to decide whether they want to connect with you or not. And I'll respect their privacy and what they want to do. They have signed up to be on the panel tonight, but they have not signed up to be your mentor or stay in touch with you all the time. If you have got any chat, this may sound a bit unusual, but I'll be honest here. If you have any questions, I would encourage you to email to Dr. Shardul, as I guess you would be happy to take those emails where you registered. You send your questions, queries there, and they may be able to channelize it to the panelists, and then it will be up to the panelists to decide whether they want to engage with you or not. So that is something I wanted to mention tonight. So thank you very much, Dr. Sethi. I think we have got, I'm mindful of the time, we've got 15 minutes. We might go another 5-10 minutes if needed, but hopefully we'll be able to wind up in next 15 minutes. So Dr. Shankar Kumar, you are the next one on my screen from Ireland. Would you like to talk about what is the scenario in Ireland, please? Thank you.
Hi, Harsh, thanks. In Ireland, at the moment, as you said, post-pandemic, and especially in the last couple of years, this year, there is good opportunity. Before that, once I came, after that, actually, they stopped taking international recruitment and all with candidate.
We have lost you, Dr. Shankar.
Hello.
Yeah, we can hear it now. Yeah, now we can. Yeah.
So what I'm saying is, it's a good time. It's a good opportunity. When I came after that, they stopped international recruitment and candidate from outside, but now they again started to take candidate from outside, and it's a good time. They are really looking for candidates. In terms of registration process and all, I will explain. So as many countries, Ireland also need, the first process is to get your qualification recognized, and after that you get registration. So in the recent the last few years, they made a professional body. It's a legal body called CORU, C-O-R-U. I will put it up, all these things in the chat box, all the information. So coru.ie, if you check. So under that, you have to submit all your paperwork, all the necessary information. And as Harsh keeps saying, one of the things they need is they need your AOTI, Association of Indian Occupational Therapists, letter to say you are registered in India and you are certified to practice in India, and your college transcript and all the necessary documentation. So if you just go through the website, it's easy. It's a mentioned step-by-step process. So you submit all the documents. It will take some time. I think in the website they are saying around 4 months. It may be more, it may be less, depends case to case basis. And then they will say, yes, your qualification is approved or validated or recognized. After that, on the same website, you apply for registration. There is a fee for registration, 410 euros. So you apply for registration. Once you apply again, it will take some time. And then once you registered to practice in Ireland, the next step is you have to go. Ireland has only one public system where you can work. There are some private, but not really. They are not looking for more candidates. So it's hsc.ie, that is Health Service Executive, hsc.ie, and career option, where you can find the information about occupational therapist. So there are two grades in Ireland public system. One is staff grade, one is senior grade occupational therapist. So staff grade occupational therapist, you don't need any experience after bachelor's, but as a senior occupational therapist, you need 3 years post-qualification experience. So once you have that, you can apply. Just my honest opinion, interview is hard to crack. As people already mentioned, the system in India and here, it's different. So it's a competency-based interview. And once you get to that stage and people need help, yes, I will link up. But yeah, there will be 5 set of questions like decision making, team player, leadership, and all. So you have to clear the interview. Once you clear the interview, they will give you the contract. Based on the contract, you can apply, go to irisimmigration.ie, and then either employer, you can submit the work permit. And then once your work permit will arrive, you can apply for visa and you can join Ireland to work. It's, again, as people said, it's a long process. And yes, you don't need masters to come to Ireland at the moment. So yes, I will put all the relevant website into the chat box if you want to come here. And happy to help if you have any queries further.
Thank you, Dr. Shankar. Thank you very much. And I think you mentioned about the interview, and just wanted to let you all know that the next event of international chapter is going to be around mentoring. So we will try to pair you up with international OTs so that they can give you half an hour at least of mentoring session. And we can look at if we can discuss some of the interview questions in those mentoring and what are those questions, how to answer them, behavioral questions, and which you have not been used to, but this is something we want to do as international chapter going forward. Now, I would like to move to the next person on my screen is Dr. Shruti Nadkarni, and she's from Dubai. Dr. Shruti, if you want to.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. So let me start on a different note here. I think Jayashree missed mentioning this. So I would like to say that Qatar and Dubai and all the Gulf states are tax-free as of now. So that's the advantage of our salaries here. Now for UAE, which is the 7 Emirates, we have 2 licensing exams, DHA, which is Dubai Health Authority, which stands for Dubai only, and HAAD, which is the Health Authority of Abu Dhabi, which goes for all the other Emirates, including Abu Dhabi. So the 6 Emirates will take HAAD and Dubai will take DHA license. For you to come here, there are 2 ways that you can come. One is Dubai does, or UAE basically does, offer a work search visa, which is valid for 3 months. You can take that and come here for a search of job. Or you can be coming on a residence visa if you have a spouse working here. For both cases here, what you require is an equalization of all your degree certificates. This is through data flow, and data flow is universally used in all the Gulf countries, not only UAE. So all the certificates have to be equalized. So before equalization, every certificate has to be authenticated by your university. wherever you are. So the university, you have to send the original has to be authenticated. Once it is authenticated by the university, it has to be stamped by the UAE embassy in India, and then you can proceed to data flow for equalization. Apart from this, your 10th and 12th, your school and high school board certificate examination documents, which is your mark sheet and your passing certificate, has to be attested and by the Dubai Health Authority, which is to be done once you enter the country. So this is the basic requirement. Parallelly to this, what you require for working in UAE is the license. Both are exams. They are online exams. Multiple questions, multiple choice questions are given. And for both the exams, we have centers in India, where once you register on the DHA or the HAAD, that is the hard website, you can get the links to the centers and you can choose a center which is nearest to you. You can give your exams from there. Once you clear the exam, you are not eligible to hold the license. The license, your license will be, you get an eligibility letter, after which within 1 year you have to get a job in UAE. If you don't get, then the eligibility letter is invalid. You have to give the exam again. If you get a job, your license is transferred to your organization, the place where you work. This is the government rule here. And if you're coming on a work visa directly from outside the country, you need police verification, so which is to be done in your in the country itself. So in India, it can be through the police station which is nearest to you, or it can be through the passport office. If you are within the country on your spouse's visa, then you need to do the police verification in UAE, which they will guide you. You can do it after you join work. They give you 2 months to complete it. In UAE, you get it in 24 hours. So you can, they'll guide you to how to go about doing this. There's a small fee that you have to pay because they will do a cross check with your home country. So once you get the license and you start working, you need a renewal after every 2 years. And for the renewal, you will require to have 10 CME points, continuing medical education points. Dubai Health Authority or even the Abu Dhabi Health Authority have continuous online or webinars going on for which they award these points. And approximately 3 hours of a webinar would give you one CME point. So you need 10 to continue to maintain your license. You just need to upload your CME certificates on the website, and the institute will pay for your licensing fees, and the license will be renewed, the one that you're working with. Along with that, we also have insurance policy for malpractice, which is to be paid by the individual, which is around 350 dirhams or AED, that is Abu Dhabi dirham per year. So that's the overall process. You can please visit the dha.government website. I'll put it in the chat for all the details. The process is very detailed and outlined there. So you can do your equalization and the DHA license parallelly. They are independent of each other. You can do both activities parallel.
Thank you, Dr. Shruti. It's great to have that information. I know people will have questions, and please put that in chat box because we are running. It's
out of time.
Sorry.
Yeah. So just one, I think, is you need a 2-year experience before you can apply for DH or HAAD license. You cannot, a fresher cannot apply.
Good to note that. Thank you. Look, I'm sorry to say we will have to take another 5-10 minutes. My request to you all to stay tuned for another 5-10 minutes. I don't like extending events, but it's such an important discussion going on. We have got a few more countries left, and we are trying to cover the entire world in this 1.5 hours. So please bear with me. Next we move to Singapore. Sujata, Dr. Sujata, you are from Singapore. Can you please talk about how to get registered as an OT and practice as an OT in Singapore? Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Harsh. Okay, so hello everyone. I'm mindful about time. I'll be very quick. So as we all are listening from other experience holder, our OTIS, actually I feel registration process, all you have to do, you have to go through this Allied Health Professional Council Singapore. There's a website for that. I'll send a link for that. And once you go through that website, there is a very clear and transparent manual in that. And that manual teach you every stepwise process or instruction. Even there's a visual which will help you, like, okay, from which step to which step what you have to do. But just to go through with you all, I have summarized few steps. So step 1, you have to submit your application form. So that application form, apart from that form, you have to submit few of your basic documents like your degree certificate and your letter of verification from your university, some certificate of conduct, either from your workplace or from your university, and then your English proficiency test results. That's very important. So once you have all these documents, you can go through that website and you can, along with the registration fee, you can just process it. Then they will assess your documents and everything, and after that they will suggest you to go for this qualifying examination. Okay, here is the trick. If your university or your college comes under, there are some list of the recognized qualification in Singapore. So if your university is recognized by the Singapore, you don't have to take that QE, that means qualifying examination. And if your university is not recognized, then you have to take that exam. And that exam process is, sorry to say this, but it's bit difficult, because you have, for that exam you have to come to Singapore and appear in that exam. So in Singapore there are 2 universities like NUS and Singapore Institute of Technology. These centers conducted these 2 exams, and then you have maximum 3 attempts. If you can qualify in that, it's very good. If not, then maybe another country. So yeah, so for that, once you have this results of QE, then you have to submit your result to, again, this Allied Health Professional Council in Singapore. They will go through everything, and then after that you have to also look for a job in the meantime, because they need your letter of employment. Because here in Singapore, the supervision part is very strict, because so far I have heard like 6 months or maximum 1 year. In Singapore, for foreigners, it's a 2-year supervision time. And no matter how much experience you are, either you are master's or bachelor or experience holder, you still have to go through this 2-year supervision period. They will always take you as an entry-level therapist, and then after going for 2-year supervision period, then you will get your license, like fully registered license. So yeah, you have to go through all the steps, and I'll send the link of this particular website. And if you have any other questions for me, I'm ready to help. That should be all from my side. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Sujata. It was very helpful to know about Singapore. I move to Dr. Ganga. Are you still there from Nepal?
Yes, I am.
Yes, please, if you can talk about how OT is doing in Nepal, and if someone wants to practice there, what that person will need to do. Thank you.
Sure. Firstly, thank you very much to all the panelists who have been dedicating their time to provide such succinct procedure of getting registered in various countries. Now, one thing that I think I should first provide a little bit of background about occupational therapy in Nepal. Since occupational therapy is at a very nascent stage in the field of healthcare in Nepal, it has, although the first OT service was started by an British expat back in 1985, it took us almost 35 years to be registered as an association. In 2022 is when Association of Nepal's Occupational Therapists got officially recognized. And currently, there are only 9 occupational therapists working in Nepal, and they've been serving in various fields of like pediatrics and spinal care and also neuro. So, you know, we are a very little bunch. So the regulation that comes with the practice of occupational therapy is also not as strong as we have been hearing from the countries before Nepal. So I will just take you to the process, simple. And currently it is not very hard for anyone if they want to work, gain experience in Nepal, because a lot of foreigners from France, OTs from Britain, America, they like to come and serve in rural parts of Nepal as their, you know, as either their missionary services or, you know, for experience of working in a low middle income setup. So having said that, firstly, to work here either on a short-term or a long-term basis, firstly you need to be registered. You need to be registered in your native country as an OT. Post which you communicate with the organization or the hospital or the setting you want to work with, and then once you are qualified for the job or the employment, then you request for a letter of you know, for working visa here in Nepal and temporary practice license. As of now, once you have secured that, then that is to be sent to the practice department of our Ministry of Health and Population, post which they will give you one more letter, which is to be submitted to NHPC, that is Nepal's Health Professional Council, which will give you then, which will then provide you with a working license in Nepal. Currently, the process is quite easy, and as of now, for foreign nationals, there is no examination required. Apart from, you know, you have to take it upon yourself to be culturally sensitive and, you know, try to learn the language. Since it is India, our, you know, audiences here today is mostly from India. So Indian Hindi and Nepali aren't very, you'll get used to Nepali very soon, so it won't be a problem in case you would like to, you know, work here. And adding to that, I think if you really want to, you know, kind of gain experience of, and if you are looking for, you know, promoting or advocating about this wonderful profession of occupational therapy, Nepal has a lot of opportunities for that. And if you're looking for if that is your thing, advocacy and promotion of OT, then I think Nepal is definitely the place. Plus, as an OT, we are eligible to work in a variety of settings, and Nepal is always welcome. Nepal always welcomes, you know, professionals who are not conventional. If they want to explore, they will have the chance to explore it here. So yes, if you have anything else, please do let me know. But otherwise, the process is very simple. Yes, that's it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Vardhan. And Nepal is, you know, one of our neighbors and one of the most beautiful countries in the world. And as you said, internationally, it is an attraction for people. I know many people from New Zealand and different parts of the world visit their OTs to work in Nepal and to serve there. So nice to have you here today. Our next one is Dr. Sania from the UK. If you want to talk about how to get registered there, and if you can be, I'm sorry to say, you know, we are running out of time, but yeah, maybe a brief summary of how to get there. Thank you.
Sure. Hi, so I'm currently working in the UK. I'll briefly go through the process of registration. It's so there is a professional council called the Health and Care Professions Council. And for any of the occupational therapists or any healthcare worker who wants to work in the UK has to be registered with the HCPC. So I will put the link, I will put the link for the application process in the chat box now. But if you go on there, it's basically for international application. So you can see what are the eligibility criteria that you require, what are the documents that you need, and how long it's going to take. Usually, once at the beginning of the process, you need all your documents from your colleges, your work experience, your references, your AIOTA life membership, and a good standing certificate from AIOTA, which you get to upload. And then once you've done that, SEPC will go through all of these things and let you know if you've been registered or not. After you get your registration number is when you can start applying for a job in the UK. And you can apply, because there are lots of jobs in the UK. You can apply on the NHS website, which is the National Health Service of the UK, or you can apply through a recruitment agency. Both of these ways are possible. And yes, once you get it, then there are other steps that once you've got a job that your sort of the service managers have to do. They have to get your clearance, you need to be cleared for safeguarding, as your disability check, all of those things. Once they've done all of these checks, they will then give you a certificate of sponsorship based on which you can apply for a visa. So that's sort of like, in short, what UK registration looks like.
Thank you, Dr. Sani. That's useful to have that insight. And UK is another country where, as far as I know, they are desperately looking for health workforce, and of course India is one of the places where I mean, we should be. This is the best time for Indians to be proud of being Indians, because all across the country, all across the world, in particular the OECD countries, so-called what they call themselves developed countries, they are looking to partner with India. They're looking for not only health workforce, they want to do free trade agreements with India. So it's not like India needs them. It's basically they need India and they need Indians and Indian workforce. So this is how I'd like to put it tonight. Sorry, last one, but not the least, is Dr. Saista Taslim from Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Are you still there, Dr. Taslim, and online? If you can talk about Kingdom of Saudi Arabia and the process there, that'll be great. I think she has dropped out, and I won't blame her. We are running late. We are running out of time. So anyway, so I mean, what I will do is that to conclude, I won't take more time. So as I was saying, this is the best time to move abroad, but it depends on what you value, what your aspirations are. If you want to stay in India, that's one of the best countries in the world, and our roots are in India. And it's you don't have to move abroad, but if you want to move abroad, and if you want to see what is working out there, I think this is the best time to do. And as I said, from health workforce wise, I'm involved in health workforce development in New Zealand, and this is a time when not only Indians need other countries need Indians more. They're desperate. They want to have workforce. So this is the best time to move. And if you're thinking to do that, and when it comes to which country to select, we have heard from all of the panelists. You have to select what are your aspirations. Do you have got time? Can you give more time to certain things? Do you want to move to a country which gives you quick residency, or you want to move to a country which gives you a tax-free income? Do you want to move to a country where they will give residency not only to you, to your family, but also your parents? So all these things matter. So when you're selecting a country, be mindful of these things as well. It's not just about getting a job and an OT and a salary. You have to think about what happens 10 years down the line. You may be bachelor now. After 10 years, you will have, you won't become grandparents, of course, but of course you can very likely become a parent. So you have to think all these things. Which country offers free education, which country offers free healthcare, and so all these things matter in the big scheme of things. I'm sure our panelists will be available to you. As I said, I cannot guarantee and I cannot give their email addresses or LinkedIn addresses to you, but reach out to them, find them on social media. It's not hard to find people on social media these days, and if they feel okay with that, they will connect with you, they will guide you. Our next event will be more around mentoring. So thank you very much for coming here tonight. But last but not the least, Dr. Sunny Joseph, I would like to invite you to say a few words. And Dr. Sunny Joseph is, he's one of the most committed. Not one of the most, but he is one of the committed. Like there are many other committed as well. Um, um, Executives of AIOTA. And so, Dr. Sunny, would you like to say a few words before we conclude, please? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Harshvardhan. I hope I'm audible.
Yes, you are.
Yeah, it is actually, we myself and Dr. Harshvardhan, we were discussing about this couple of months before, and Dr. Harshvardhan is actually doing a great job, and there is no wonder why we have given him 2017. IOTA has recognized him as a young OT achiever award from our association, and we have a Dr. Jyotika Bijlani, Dean Accord. I think she is very busy because a lot of new OT colleges are coming out, so she is having a busy schedule. Other panelists and my dear friends, I think this kind of this online webinar is actually need of our. Many of the therapists are trying to go abroad, and we should also remember that we are also in short of therapists in India. So, and since I am there, I'm doing the license verification from IOTA. I get a lot of queries. Dr. Seth said, the least application is to US and the most is to HCPC, the UK. And the second country is to, I think, to Australia and Dubai. I think last couple of months I have signed nearly 203 application to UK. So I have the statistics. Maybe next session I can show the statistics. So I think this session actually is going to give a lot of opportunities for the OTs going to practice in abroad. I think we should continue this discussion, and IOTA can give a lot of support on this. Maybe in our website we can give a lot of information regarding this. And any of the panelists, if they are willing to mentor and if they are willing to give their email address, definitely we can support. And maybe we can upload this video also in the YouTube channel. We have in IOTA has also got a YouTube channel. And one thing I want to say is IOTA gives good standing certificate and license verification only after 6 months of continued membership, because many people they take membership and the next week they apply for a license verification, which is not possible as per the IOTA's policy. 6 months is mandatory because we cannot give an application sign only before 6 months. I get a lot of pressure from many of the candidates, and I also get pressure from the employers from different part of. Last week I got a call from Ireland, and I used to get call from even Middle East saying that this particular candidate is eligible, they have cleared the exam, kindly give them the good standing certificate because they are in short of therapists. So that is very difficult, and we are trying to give the maximum service as soon as possible. Now the license verification and the good standing certificate process is through online. They don't have to go to the bank. Earlier they're supposed to take DD. Now everything is through online. But only thing is we won't be able to give queries. We won't be able to give too much of answers through the WhatsApp. So many people they're expecting us to give the answer through WhatsApp. So try to reach us through the email. So be a little patient. Some of them they have a lot of queries. So I know we are running out of time. So I congratulate this international chapter, especially Dr. Harshvardhan and his team. And Dr. Jayashree was actually studying with me in SRM in Chennai. So we used to communicate. So I also congratulate the other members. Some of them I don't know them personally. And thank you all.
Thank you very much, Dr. Joseph, and thank you once again, Dr. Bijlani. I'd like to quickly go to Dr. Shardul to give a concluding word of thanks, and then we'll conclude from there. Thank you very much.
So, firstly, a big thanks to the president of IOTA, Dr. Anil Srivastava. I know he couldn't be here today, but he did convey his best wishes for us to go ahead with this. Also, a big thanks to Dean of Acaiota, Dr. Bijlani ma'am, for your encouraging words to get us started and for your continuous guidance all throughout these years. Big thanks to Secretary of IOTA, Dr. Sunny Joseph. Like you've just said how important it is for IOTA to provide all the necessary support for students who pass out of colleges and who wish to go abroad. So I think a big thanks to you for providing some clarity and guidance for us. Also, thank you to Chair of ICAIOTA, Dr. Harshvardhan, for kind of guiding us through this process, for being there when me and Prachi, we as project leads, needed a lot of help and support from you. So thank you for that, Dr. Harshvardhan. A big thanks to all the ICAIOTA committee members as well for spreading the word, for being there, and for helping me and Prachi to get through this project. And I'll pass on to Prachi to kind of do the later half of vote of thanks, because I know she has had a big say in these things as well. Yeah.
Thank you, Shardul. So I just want to thank all the panelists for sharing their invaluable experience and knowledge about the registration process and about how to move to this particular country. And thank you so much. That's been so much valuable in our today's session. Last but not the least, thanks to our participants and attendees. And I think it's your enthusiasm and your curiosity, and that's why we are holding this session today. And if you continue to show this curiosity, we will hold many more sessions for you guys. Thank you, everyone. I will pass on to Harsh sir if you want to add any concluding remarks. Thank you.
I'll just clap and thank you very much, everyone. And sorry we exceeded the time, but have a nice rest of the evening and see you again later in our future events. Thank you. Bye bye.
Yeah, Harsh, and also I'm inviting only for the next IOTA conference in Cochin, Kerala, in India. We are conducting the 61st annual national conference.
Absolutely, and I'll be there in person. So I'm looking forward to meet as many looking forward to meet as many of you as I can. So see you in Kerala conference, and see you, Dr. Sani, Dr. Bijlani, and all others. Thank you.
Thank you.